Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Nerd Out. I am your host today, Jack, and I'm here with my friend,
Dave.
And Dave and I have been friends for, 15 plus years, doing a lot of ministry. So highlights of Dave, he spoke last night on overcoming depression as we started our new series. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay there. Like, we want to keep moving forward in God's hope and help. And so you talked about overcoming depression.
Yep.
And just cluing with that, I am not depressed about U of A basketball and the potential this year.
Neither am I. Hope springs eternal.
Hope springs eternal.
This could be the year. I've been saying that since 1998.
I feel like we have got to get to a Final Four.
Soon.
You
it's
and
inevitable.
I are avid fans, and I will get to the takeaways in a second. I just wanted to camp here. But I think there's hope.
I agree. I am not depressed.
We're not going to give up hope.
No.
Which you talked about last night. Never give up hope.
Never.
But as we kicked off this series, you did a fantastic job sharing your story, and I know a lot of this is personal. We'll unpack a little bit more of that.
Sure.
But as we always do, we'll start with some takeaways from last night. So just some key takeaways. Again, depression has a biochemical, spiritual, and volitional component to it, and we need to look at all three. We'll kind of camp on that a little bit.
Yep.
It's okay to not be okay, and the Bible addresses struggles with depression. We talked about the idea of the pit, and that's mentioned over 20 times in the Psalms, elsewhere throughout the Bible. Healing from depression is more of a journey than a destination. And fourth, God can heal through both medicine and miracles, and often uses both.
Yep.
And then the fifth one, never give up hope. Jesus' invitation is for everyone, you, me, you, everybody.
Correct.
Including those who are struggling with mental health. So again, as we kind of jumped into this mental health series, kind of seeing what's the scripture have to say about this, maybe in lieu of everything, a quick recap of just how you got here. Yeah. And why this is so personal and instrumental in your life.
Yeah. At some levels, you would probably say my depression was lower level because I've been a pastor in Tucson for 35 years. And I have heard a number of people say, as I've been sharing more and more of this story, I had no idea that you were depressed. And I suspect that's often the case, that we're able to put our best foot forward in work or somewhere. And that was the case for me. I was always able to, 99% of the time, able to be functional and do things that I loved. The main place that it showed up was that I would just be worn out. And so I had nothing left at home. Slept more than the average person needed to. And so my best energy went to ministry, which then contributed to guilt and shame, which always makes depression worse. And so I've been on antidepressants. I'm still on antidepressants since 1998. That there's actually, I didn't talk about this last night, but there's now a genetic test. I took it about 6 years ago, that can identify genetically which of the various classes of antidepressants are most likely to be helpful.
Really?
Middle range and least likely to be helpful. I believe the one that most of the people that I know of now that are using is called GeneSight, Gene. But if you just Google genetic testing for depression, it'll pull up bunches of stuff. And some insurance will cover it. Mine did.
Okay.
And so it comes up green, yellow, and red. And I literally took every single one on the green list. I've tried them all.
You've tried them all?
I have tried them all. And so...
am I right in understanding that in some of that medication that it typically takes 20 to 30 days for it to regulate a little bit in your body from a medical standpoint in order for it to see if it truly affects? Like it's not one dose in
It's the reason that at the end when we talk to Jared and Trish and
Right.
Bless This Brain, they're able to walk with people through that process, which is so helpful because the process is so discouraging. Good mental health professionals, psychiatrists, and so forth will tell you straight up. So we're guessing based on what you've told me. This is what I'm going to recommend first. And again, if they're good, they will also tell you, but it might make it worse, which is not encouraging,
Not encouraging
at all. And so if you find yourself suicidal, be sure to let us know. Gosh, it's just, we know a lot more than we ever did, but there's so much more that we don't know than we do.
Yeah.
As far as I know, the last I heard, they can test the brain of a cadaver and find out what your dopamine
Post.
After you're dead, they can evaluate what your dopamine level was, what your serotonin level, what your norepinephrine level was. But there's no really accurate way to figure that out while you're alive.
That seems like a bummer.
That's almost depressing. Sorry. And so it's guesswork. And so they do the best that they can, but it can make it worse. Even if it makes it better, most of them have side effects. And so then you have to weigh, is the cost worth the benefit? So it's just tough. It's a tough journey. And then they do different things at different dosages. And so depending on what I took a sleep pill for a while that is actually an antipsychotic.
Okay.
But at low doses, it is used to help with sleep.
Got it.
The stimulant that I'm using right now is sometimes used for diet suppression.
Got it.
Appetite suppression. So we're learning a lot, and that's helpful. God can work through all of that. But man, there's so much that we don't know about especially about how our brain chemistry works.
Well, I know the brain research obviously has come a long way in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And really maybe the last decade in particular. But you talked about last night, and we mentioned it in the takeaways, just this is a journey, not a destination.
Yep.
In the sense, so in unpacking your journey through this, did you experience okay, we're going to try this green medicine in the sense of it's in the green zone, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so we had to go back to the drawing board and try the next one. And was that helpful? And then we'll get to where maybe the breakthrough was for you.
Yeah.
But maybe unpack just a little bit of that journey.
Sure.
To encourage folks that, hey, if you're looking to work on the biochemical and the spiritual and the volitional side of this, it's okay to go through the journey.
It is okay to go through the journey, and being honest about it is so very helpful. And then having somebody to go through it alongside you is also super helpful, which is why I'm just so encouraged that you all are talking about it, because I have no doubt that among the congregation last night and the folks that are watching now, there will be people that'll be having conversation about this moving forward that maybe kept it quiet before. And it's just so critical that we talk about it.
Yeah.
So I did. And I had the experience of, well, this seems to help a little bit, but I'm so lethargic after I take it. Or this seems to help a little bit, but I've got this side effect. And so then my wife and I are wrestling with, well, is what's the way?
Benefit and cost.
What's the benefit? Is it worth a little bit of help on the depression front to have less energy on the other front? And so it's just tough. It's really tough. And then so that's the genetic piece, which is so tough. And then insurance are all different. Insurance policies, what they'll cover, what they won't cover, how much therapy and how much of that they'll cover. And the doctor that's so helpful for me right now, I'm having to pay out of pocket because insurance won't cover it. So it's helpful and worth it, but I just really
There's a
ache
cost to
for
it.
those that can't afford it.
Right.
So that's the medical genetic side. Then there's the spiritual side, which obviously I've been a follower of Jesus all my life. So that is the single greatest resource that we have. But we have to be able to recognize that as followers of Jesus, it's okay to not be okay. And one of the other messages that I have shared in a number of different churches is just we just got to get past the, you have a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, and everything goes wrong. And you made an exception with your spouse the night before on that. You're not supposed to go to bed angry, but let's make an exception tonight. And
We'll
the
put a
toast,
bookmark here.
the toast burns, and the kids are yelling, and you screech into the parking lot, and everything is a wreck, and arguing all the way there. And you walk in the door, how you doing? Fine. Oh, we've just gotta get past that. And so to recognize that the joy of the Lord is our strength, and love, joy, peace is part of the fruit of the Spirit. That's true. And it's also true that blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Right. And so you don't have to pick one of those.
Right.
Both of those are true. Simultaneously. And so you've just got to be able to talk about that. Or else the spiritual resources can end up making you feel worse. Because then you end up, I guess I don't have enough faith. Or I'm not reading my Bible enough.
I'm not praying enough.
My prayer life must suck because I'm not as spiritual as the next guy, or just on and on. And of course, there's that's the Jesus side of the spiritual equation. Right. There's an enemy side who is a liar, and he's piling on the whole time, encouraging you to feel more guilty, and encouraging you to give up, and encouraging you that it's really your fault, or that you really shouldn't talk about this because they're going to judge you. And
correct.
And if you ever were judged, then they're going to remind you of it. And so it's just brutal. So there's that piece. and then in case that's not depressing enough, the best word I've found, because it just encapsulates all of it, is volitional. Okay. But it's not a word that we use a lot.
I have never used that word in a sentence.
Well, now you can. You can impress your friends.
I will use it
at basketball parties.
Okay, perfect.
I encourage that. You know, when the football team is
thought about the volitional ramifications of this?
The offensive line could use some volitional encouragement right now.
All right, thanks for the tip. I will
recommend
file that away.
Yeah. So volitional is just a word that means the choices that we make.
Got it.
And I like to talk about that in two categories.
Okay.
Omission, choices that we ought to make but don't. Go to bed early. Make sure that you get enough sleep. Diet. It's absolutely a fact that the Oreo cookies help in the moment, but they're not going to help depression over a long chunk of time. And so diet makes a difference. Exercise makes a difference. But if you're struggling with depression, those are quick fixes, like an extra Oreo Blizzard. I know it's not going to help me in the long run, but it helps me for a couple of minutes. And exercise, it's like, who wants to do that when it's hard to get out of bed?
Yeah.
So you can, those would help, but we don't do them. So then you feel guilty. And so then there's an enemy and blah, blah, blah. But then there's also the choices that we do make, like the Oreo Blizzard, but then also other stuff. And so I think one of the things that has really helped me, especially over the last few years, is just recognizing how many of the unhealthy choices that we make are to numb pain that we don't want to deal with.
How did you begin to recognize that?
Well, I've I've done therapy all along the way.
Okay.
And so some of it I've recognized. And so I've been to therapists and they've helped to identify that. And so some of it I've worked through, but I don't think I realized how, just how true that is all the time. And it doesn't, it can be really big things. So I've had to process through some really big things, but, the last couple of weeks, it can be smaller things. It doesn't have to be huge. It can just be, wow, that was really disappointing. And instead of feeling it, just stuffing it. And I don't want to feel that. And so I'm going to do something so that I don't have to feel that. Distraction.
The mask of distraction.
Yeah. I could probably scroll for another couple of hours on YouTube or Facebook or sports scores or video games, or take your pick. I mean, it can be morally neutral things.
Correct. Not bad nor good.
Not bad or good, but in excess become harmful. They're not helping. I'm just trying to avoid dealing with something. But then it's obviously it's a recipe for addiction. So it can be things that aren't helpful in any measure. So drugs or alcohol in excess or any number of other addictions, sexual addictions, or, I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that is not going to help you in the long run, especially if you're a follower of Jesus and you've read the Bible once. This isn't going to help, but you just want the pain to stop. Even if the pain is the disappointment over depression that's still there after having taken all of the meds on the green list. And so you do something that is a momentary dopamine hit. And then the guilt and the shame just dig the pit deeper. So
how did you find, in trying to deal with, so the biochemical side, the spiritual side, and the volitional side, the choices we make. How did you begin to, you talked about last night, kind of some of the breakthrough moments for you on a biochemical side of things, finding a good doctor that was willing to help, and willing to help not just by, okay, I'm here taking your money and helping you, but like willing to come alongside in the journey and to get you down the road. And experiment with the right kind of doses and things to help, but also you kind of had some spiritual breakthroughs that begin to thaw the cynicism in your own heart that God used. I'm grateful to have been a small part of that. And the beauty, I think, I'll give credit to one of my mentors, Roger Barrier, who you knew, as a pastor here in town, who always drilled home to us Romans 12:15, which is a simple verse you can memorize right now. Rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That what if we just got better in our relationships of rejoicing with people when things are good and mourning with people when things are not so good? And how you mourn with someone is you just come alongside, you sit on the curb with them and go, I'm so sorry that happened, period. You don't say anything else after that. There's no coaching moment. You just say, I'm going to sit in this moment with you. I'm so sorry that happened. Or that's what you're facing.
We can't underestimate how powerful that is. We really can't. Over the last year and a half, the first church that invited me to share this journey was January of 24.
Okay.
So 18 months or so, I've had a number of opportunities to share this story. Now I always share the story of how you did that for me when I was courageous enough with other pastors to talk about, which is hard.
It's hard.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a pastor or not. We all have things that we feel guilty about and we're ashamed of. And it's hard to have the courage to talk about that. And it doesn't matter whether it's the volitional side or just I've struggled with this forever, or I just am not doing what I had to do with my wife and kids, or whatever it is.
Right.
It can be hard. It takes a lot of courage to be honest about that. And so to say to pastors, I'm cynical about prayer is not the easiest thing to do. And I had shared some of the other stuff before, but I hadn't shared that before with other pastors. I'd shared it in safer places.
Right.
And to have you feel it with me and shed tears and embrace me and not jump to the rejoice with those with rejoice. I mean, that verse has both.
Correct.
But we need to keep them separate. When you're mourning with those who mourn, but brother,
There's joy in the Lord.
It'll get better tomorrow. Don't do that. Just sit there.
Right.
And you did that. And probably more than half of the times that I share this story in any setting, I choke up. And during the worship set, I leaned over to Val and said, "Do you have a tissue or something?" Because being here with you, I feel it every time.
Stirred that back.
And I couldn't sing some of these great songs before the message because I was feeling how powerful that was.
Well, and I think the beauty of that is God's healing you.
Yeah.
Because you talked about the difference between being healed and being cured.
Yes.
And I have found that even this morning, sending a text to someone I dearly love and having a little cry moment again because of the heartache we're going through, which I'm not going to unpack, but the reality of it, and realizing, okay, this is I still feel it.
Yes.
And by feeling it, because you talked about depression sometimes as, we'll come back to ants, but depression being that wet blanket.
Yes.
That just keeps you from feeling.
Yeah.
And maybe unpack that maybe a touch more of, because I'm sure a lot of people who deal with depression or anxiety that we'll look at next week, or a host of other mental illness or mental challenges, feel like maybe that wet blanket at times where they struggle to feel.
Yeah. Well, and to be Captain Obvious, both of us are men.
Correct.
Men are not typically stellar at being able to feel things, identify what they're feeling. I can't count how many times in my 37-year marriage, my wife will say, "How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Or it seems like you're feeling this. And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Yes, you are." I'm like, "Okay, well then you tell me how I'm feeling." Because, and so numbing that, we don't get a lot of cultural encouragement.
That's true.
And so then when you've had some trauma, then then to survive the trauma, you learn how to stuff and shut off feelings. So then that doesn't help. And so a lot of it exacerbates it. So a lot of us are not in touch with our feelings, or we just know that if I unplug the dam, there's going to be a lot of pain that comes out, and it's safer to not do that. Yeah. And so we don't do that. And I shared kind of at the end, it was interesting to me because the last 2 weeks have been such great evidence of that. I'm better at feeling feelings than I've ever been in my life. The process of getting healthier is ongoing. And so I can identify feelings quicker than ever before. I'm feeling them deeper. And so the last couple of weeks, there have been a lot of just ecstatic joy. Man, you can't make this stuff up. This is so good. And I'm feeling that. And then there have been a lot of, oh gosh, that is really disappointing. I didn't see that coming. Or there's so many great things. I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I recognize anxiety and feeling overwhelmed. And so this kind of stuff, and it's really interesting. In my newsletter article last week, I talked about that. This cycle,
kind of that roller coaster stuff.
And a couple of well-meaning friends assumed that meant that I was back in depression.
That you're triggered somehow.
Okay. And I reached out to him and I talked to him and I said, well, actually, I don't think this is depression. I think this is feeling feelings. And the difference is I can feel sad, and that's not the pit of depression.
Correct.
In the pit of depression, you're stuck. There's no light. There's no hope. You don't know how to get out of it. None of those were true. I was feeling sad, really sad. I was able to identify feeling sad. We grieve, but we don't grieve like those who have no hope. Yep. I wasn't hopeless. I knew it wasn't going to be there forever. I knew that the Lord would be consolation in the suffering and help write the end of the story. I knew all of that. So I was never hopeless.
Right.
I just was hurting. And that's actually healthy. That's not the pit of depression. Right. So
maybe for those of us who, I don't feel like I struggle with depression, but I know a lot of people that do.
Yeah.
So how can we come alongside folks who maybe struggle with this or lean more on the continuum to potentially struggle with this part of mental health?
Yeah.
What are some ways that we can do that to help them recognize maybe the wet blanket on life or the ants, if you want to talk about the ants?
Yeah, we should for sure talk about the ants. Well, the first thing that came to mind that there just wasn't time in the message to really unpack, but both of us as pastors,
right?
I had one class on pastoral care and counseling.
Me too.
In
seminary.
One. And we were taught this, and I was glad for this, but I had a hard time for a while putting it into practice, which is if you're dealing with somebody who's depressed or something, did they talk about the lethality scale in terms of suicide?
Yes.
Do you remember that? Yeah, I remember that too. And so they said, ask. And the first couple of times I'm like, yeah, but isn't that mean I'm going to plant this thought?
Am I triggering them?
And it's like, no, because if they're suicidal, they've already had the thought. And if they aren't suicidal, you asking about it is not going to plant the thought.
Right. It doesn't push them over.
And so to be able to say, well, how bad is that right now? Have you thought about suicide? You have
or harming yourself.
Or harming yourself. You have do you have a means for carrying that out? And in that case, then I need to get you help.
Right.
Because we need to live another day.
Correct.
To be able to get through all of this. And so to just ask honest questions is really, really helpful.
And to ask questions, I think, in a way to draw out more than yes, no answers.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. How are you feeling? When did you feel that way the last time? Could you say a little bit more about that?
Help me understand that.
Help me understand that. Yeah. Just could you describe that some more? That all of those things are helpful to just help somebody else process through that.
Or reflecting back. Okay, this is what I heard you say.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Exactly. Yep.
And just letting people have more space.
Yeah.
Which takes time.
It does take time.
I think being a person who comes alongside someone else who's struggling with depression or mental health struggles is you've got to carve out enough time, which I know Val has done for you throughout the 37 years that she's put up with you, and that you've been able to champion life together. And God's used her and many others in those moments that maybe for us, as we come alongside the people we care about, is to say, hey, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Because I think often the people that are struggling with mental health challenges, there's a sense of feeling like I'm going to get to a point that you're going to walk away,
Yep.
or you're going to quit on me because I'm close to quitting on myself.
Yep.
And maybe it's not even suicidal or harming yet,
Right.
but they feel like, you mentioned this last night, I'm quitting, I'm done.
Yeah.
And as people who are championing the people around us, we need to let them know, no, my face still lights up with joy when I see you, even if you're struggling.
Yeah.
And what God would describe his Hesed love, covenantal kind of love, is I'm all in no matter what, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm here. And
Yep.
so we'll walk through the journey, whether we have to slug our way through it,
Right.
or we can walk or run a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, in maybe tying back to the ants, which I know I've said 3 times now, ants are not the little creepy crawly ants, but unpack that one more time.
Yeah.
And how did you find that?
Automatic negative thoughts.
A-N-T.
A-N-T. Automatic negative thoughts. And the first time I heard that phrase, I was actually enrolled in a week-long intensive therapy counseling type thing, which was a good thing to do. I was glad that I did that. It was helpful on several different levels. I needed help on processing some of the volitional choices that I was making with depression that weren't so helpful. And so it was helpful. I'm glad that I did it. It did not lead to a path of healing. And here's one of the reasons why. So she helped me identify automatic negative thoughts. One of mine was, I can't do hard things. Well, that's a lie from the enemy. And she helped me talk through my life. We had a week, we had a lot of time. So, well, that was a hard thing. You did that. This is a hard thing. You've done a lot of hard things. That's not true. Well, it's mildly helpful, but only mildly, because it wasn't a rational thought. It was irrational. This was a rational solution to an irrational lie, and it didn't help. She wasn't able to talk me out of it. What did help was a spiritual process, and I mentioned it. It's this book, Living Fearless,
right?
By Jamie Winship, and the what helped a lot was just a process of identifying lies that you've come to believe in your life. However, you've come, and so I wrote that one down. I can't do hard things. And I just walked through the process that he recognized. And literally the next morning, I'm not kidding you, I had my list of 15, 20 lies that I had believed. A lot of them are automatic negative thoughts. Fear is crippling. Change is overwhelming. Just all that kind of stuff. And about half of them the next morning were gone.
Really? By writing them down.
By writing, well, and in a prayer process and a spiritual, it was a spiritual deliverance. I mean, we didn't use those words, but there was just some of that stuff going on. There was some work being done in the heavenly realms. And so the next morning, and I woke up in my journaling and I'm like, I can do hard things. I've got a few hard things that I need to do today.
It's like the light bulb came on.
Yeah, I think I can do that. And so the lie had been broken. I mean, it wasn't rational, it was spiritual.
Got it.
And that was really helpful. And so neural pathways are in our brain science. We've learned that there's all these neural pathways that we develop that I've done this and I've done that, and here's the neural pathway between, or the belief system that I have. And so automatic negative thoughts are neural pathways, and they have to be broken. They get weakened over time
and
replaced with healthier ones. Like, I can do hard things. And so there's a number of spiritual things that we can do to help replace lies with truth, and a lot of different resources that can help with that. But they don't just break and they're gone.
Instant, yeah.
They diminish in strength, and some of the brain science is crazy what we've started to learn about how neural pathways form, how they break. And
but I think even what we're finding with the studies in addiction is that it is possible to break it.
It is.
And because your new neural pathways can be formed.
Correct.
Even in your 50s, 60s, 70s. Like it's not, I've reached this certain age and I'm done. It's we can move forward whether you're at 19 or you're 99.
Absolutely.
And I think that's part of the key. Greg Rochelle wrote a book called Winning the War in Your Mind.
Yes.
Which we did a series on a while back, but it was the adage of how do you create some new neural pathways to break free from some of those automatic negative thoughts or patterns or decisions or choices, addictions that you've just gotten like, this is a cycle of what I do. We can maybe link to that. What's the name of the book again that you talked about?
The name of the book is Living Fearless. Looks like this, by Jamie Winship. Living Fearless by Jamie Winship. And if you're not a reader, Google Jamie Winship. The last name is spelled Winship, just like it sounds. There's about 1,000 podcasts. And he's been interviewed by everybody. He's got the most interesting story of anybody you will ever want to come across.
Very cool.
He's not a pastor. Well, he is now, but he's a cop, a lifelong cop. I mean, just amazing stories. And so there's long, short, you take your pick. Google him and you'll find 1,000 videos, YouTube interviews and podcasts. And
Got it.
so you can just pick. I'll take the 10-minute one. I'll take the 3-hour one. And so they're all there.
Where you are that day.
Yeah, exactly. So all super, super helpful. But I just want to echo something you just said. So one of the lies from the enemy that has kept, especially as we get older, kept a lot of us in bondage is you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I won't throw you under the bus, but
you probably could.
by any category, I'm an old dog. I'm 61.
I'm nipping at your heels.
Okay. And I ask anybody who knows me well, I'm a bag of new tricks. I've done ministry now. I'm coming up on 36 years, 35. 35 years, somewhere in there. I don't know. Since I was ordained, 35 years.
Right.
And I'm doing things I've never done before. They're healthier than they've ever been. I'm so excited about them. I'm changing everything. My mission's the same. My core values are the same, but how I go about them,
different.
Totally different. Everything is changing. And I'm so excited about it. Now, it gets overwhelming at times. And then I'm honest about it. Lord, this almost feels like depression. That's not coming back, is it? I trust you to protect me from that.
Right.
Because that can't come back. That cannot come back. And I'm not worried about that. But I can have moments where I'm like, because the enemy
Would you call
piles
that like a flare-up?
I call it depressive feelings.
Got it.
Yeah. That are the same feelings that I had when I was in the pit of depression, but it's not the pit of depression.
Okay.
So I can feel hopeless, but then I name it, and then the Lord gives me hope.
Yeah. Steve Cuss is a pastor and is written about leadership, anxiety, and all that. But he talks about naming it to claim it, or to tame it. Name it to tame it. So recognizing, which again goes back to what we talked a little bit earlier, especially as men. Women seem to do this a little bit more innately, of being able to really truly understand what you're feeling.
Yes,
and to name that, to tame that. So you don't go back to the pit. But you can stay above it and go, okay, this is where I'm feeling. And you talked about this last night, and maybe how do we, in the Psalms, we see David and other psalmists be very real with God. And you talked about moving from cynicism of prayer to in the duty of it to being the delight of it, which means it became real again. And the delight that comes from that we can go to the creator of the universe who actually understands my world,
Yeah.
and wants to be involved in my world,
Yeah.
in that. So how did that prayer habit of being brutally honest
Yeah.
with God rebuild trust with you and God, or rebuild trust in communication with not just God, but the people around you?
Well, a couple of things that I would say. The category that we give for so many of the Psalms is a lament.
Mm-hmm.
The whole book of Lamentations is that.
Yep.
And so it's honesty. And some of it you blush when you read. If you've never really read the Psalms outside of King James, where you might not understand it, but when it's like, wow, did he just say that?
Oh.
Yeah, he did. He just said that. And you're like, wow, that is really honest. Like,
that's dark.
That's dark. That's in the Bible. And in most of them, there's only one exception, but in most of the laments, you can watch it happen. It starts so dark. Psalm 22 is my favorite because you can watch it go back and forth.
Right.
My God, why have you forsaken me? And then next verse, but I remember your promises of old. But God, I still feel like this, but I remember you said this, and it goes back and forth. And by the end, they're in a different place.
Yep.
Well, that's recorded for us. And that's what my prayer journal looks like now. So Lord, I'm really overwhelmed. I'm really struggling with this. Help me understand what's going on. Where did this come from? What's the pain that I might be trying to block right now? What's, Jamie Winship uses the language, Jesus both said, I am the truth, the way, the truth, and the life. And then he also said, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And so the way he puts it is Jesus is a truth dealer and he only deals in truth. And so if you're going to pretend in prayer, there's not nearly as much that he can help you with. Tell the truth because he is the truth and he deals in truth. So tell the truth. And then he can, it's like, oh, we can deal with that. There. Yeah, I'm okay with that. You can't ask me a question that's going to, the friend of mine says, we panic when Jesus panics. He's not panicked.
Right.
So
yeah, there's nothing you're ever going to say that's going to shock God or knock him off his throne.
Yeah.
And so you can be really real with God. And that's the invitation for us.
Totally.
And then to get some trusted friends that you can be really real with. Which you won't have all the time.
Right.
You had another book resource that you touched on.
The single best book I've read, and I've read a lot of books on prayer.
Yep. You lead a ministry on prayer.
I lead a ministry on prayer. And I've known for years, true story. I felt like a fraud leading J17 Ministries because I knew that my prayer life was hit and miss. I did it because it was the right thing to do. There were times where it felt like delight, but there were a lot of times where it felt like duty. And there were areas of prayer that always felt like duty because I hadn't seen movement. Right. And so the opening page of this book, which is why I read it twice, it talks about prayers that God's not answering. And in fact, it seems like it gets worse. And it's like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
I'm with you.
And so honestly, the first time I read it was while I was in the pit of depression. And so I read it and was like, well, there's a lot of truth in there. As I was recovering from depression, I read it a second time and I read it devotionally. So I would read a page or two, I journal, and I'm like, And so I savored it the second time and I applied it. And it changed how I pray. It changed a lot of things.
That's great.
And yeah,
we, as a staff, read Being with God. I'm forgetting the author.
Was it the book With?
Being with God, I think, is the name of it. Say who? A.J. Sherrill. That's right. I think it's Sherrill. A.J. Sherrill. And he talked about prayer practices in there that was really good, but I've read Miller's book as well and fascinating and very helpful.
It is very helpful.
So you might find it helpful if
he has a whole section on cynicism, like many chapters on cynicism.
And I think, for a lot of you, and I have struggled with that at times, and I've been in ministry 30 years, and I should be the prayer guy, and I love to pray. But there are moments where you feel like you're stuck or feel like things aren't moving, that it's easy. I think it's easy to let the enemy whisper cynicism into any area of life, but in particular, our prayer connection with God.
Totally.
In that. All right. So as we seek maybe the next 5 minutes here to land the plane a little bit, we highlighted a few practical steps that people could take, whether they are the ones who struggle with depression or they're walking alongside someone. I don't know if you want to highlight any of those or if there were any that you didn't get to unpack.
If you've dealt with it on 2 of the 3 fronts and you're still stuck,
so biochemical,
spiritual, volitional, your choices that you make. If you've dealt with 1 or 2, but not all 3, that would be an encouragement.
That's one of your next steps.
That would be your next step. I don't think it matters where you start, quite frankly. In my case, the biochemical was step 1, followed pretty quickly by spiritual with you and being honest in prayer and getting people to pray for me, followed by volitional choices that I'd make. But you may have a sense. In fact, when I've done this in a workshop type setting, I've just said, well, let's just pray. God, what's my next step? And he'll know, and he'd love to tell you. So it can be any of those. What's my next step? When I hit my lowest point, when I said to Val, I'm done, it didn't mean I'm going to commit suicide.
Right.
What it meant was, and I didn't use this language right then, but I found it helpful since, I'd made peace with depression.
This is the way it's going to be.
This is it. I have
is
blue
as good
eyes.
As it's going to get.
I have a 6-inch vertical jump, and and I have depression, and I guess that's what God intended, and I don't really know why, but it just you're not going to find that in the Bible, and so that can't be true. The blue eyes, the 6-inch vertical leap, maybe, but not depression. Depression is not God's plan for our life. Now, I would say I'm still vulnerable in that area, and I probably always will be as long as I live, as well as some of the volitional choices that I made. I'm still going to be vulnerable there, so I have to be extra vigilant about that. But don't make peace with depression.
Got it.
If the volitional area is some area that you already know, I've dealt with a lot of stuff, but I've made peace with this sin. Well, I'll just talk to you. My friend, that one's going to keep you trapped until you deal with it. So there's a difference between struggling with sin and having victory and having failure. That's not the same.
Right.
But unsinning sin and making peace with it is going to keep you in bondage.
Unsinning sin. I don't know if I've ever heard
Unsinning
that.
sin. Well,
okay.
That's really bad.
Yeah.
But this is probably okay.
Got it.
May not be okay for everybody, but it's probably okay
It's
for me.
permissible for me.
This is permissible for me.
But the Apostle Paul would say, yes, all things are permissible, but don't be a slave to something.
Alcohol's legal. So crack, I should probably give that
I'll steer clear of that.
But alcohol, that's legal. So
I'll use it to numb.
I'll use that to numb. And I don't go on such a bender that I've got 5 DUIs and I'm not doing that.
Right.
I just have a couple of extra drinks so that I don't have to feel. Well, I would say that God has a better life for you than that. And
you can substitute any other thing in there.
You can take any of them. So, I've given up hardcore pornography. I'll just settle with raunchy PG-13.
Right.
Whatever it is, don't make peace with sin. And
Right.
So wherever your conscience, if you're honest,
Yep.
says, then that might be your next step.
And that might be if you're taking an honest assessment and you're going through life and decisions, family, individual, wherever you feel like maybe the Spirit of God's knocking, going, hello, that might be the area that he's tapping to go, let's work on that.
And if that feels overwhelming, then maybe you look at one of the other two to start with.
Right.
I might need something that helps me have enough energy to have that hard conversation.
Yep.
Or whatever. I don't think it matters, but it's going to take all three.
Yeah.
If it's circumstantial depression, maybe you can get through without all three. But if it's a long-standing issue, it's going to take all three.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Was there anything that you didn't get to say last night? We'll link to the sermon. You can go back to hear that. Again, I want to thank you for being there to share with our folks, our family. And again, we're trying to take the stigma and the shame off of mental struggle and health. And with that, anything you wanted to add that you're like, hey, I want to circle back to this, or I didn't get to mention?
I'm sure I said this, but I think it's worth saying again. Don't believe the lie that you should suffer in silence. Don't believe whatever it is, even if it's one of those sin areas or it's a trauma thing from childhood that you've never processed and it's just too hard to talk about. It's too painful or it's too embarrassing or whatever. Don't believe the lie. There are people in the world. You're watching this, and Jack's one of them. So I won't give out your cell number, but
thank you.
There are people in this church who will walk with you, so that you don't have to. It's okay to not be okay, and it doesn't matter what it is. Don't believe the lie that everybody else. Can deal with their stuff, but I'm the exception. This is too bad to face. That's not true. And lifelong depression is not God's plan for your life. I don't know what healing is going to look like for you, but I know that hope is his plan for everybody. I know that when he said, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest," he did not say, unless you're struggling with depression or anxiety, and man, I'm so sorry, but I can't help you. He never said that. And so don't believe that. Keep believing. Pray with somebody. Call up a friend, whatever, but don't just make peace with that mental health challenge because there is victory in it, over it, through it, and I think I'll tag on to that, just that victory is not a solo sport. Correct.
There is solo elements that you have to own individually, that I have to own individually. But the reality is it takes a community, a biblical, healthy community and family of God to help you and help me move forward. And at Elements, that's one of the things we believe about our e-groups and community containers, discipleship groups, is just giving space and place for people to connect and to realize it's okay to not be okay, but we can all take the next step forward in that. And so, again, man.
Can I just add one quick thing? If you happen to be watching this and you're like, well, I'd love to go to Elements, but I'm in North Carolina.
Timbuktu, yep.
Then Bless This Brain.
Oh, yeah. I was going to have you
would be back. Worth checking into because it's an online resource.
BlessThisBrain.com, right?
I'm almost 100% sure it's .com. Okay. BlessThisBrain.com. I'm 99% certain.
I'll double check what you talk about.
Okay, very good. And that would be a good resource too. And there are churches. I know it can be hard to find congregations that will do a series called "It's Okay to Not Be Okay," but there are many of them. I'm coming across more and more of them.
Mm-hmm.
So keep looking until you find it. Ask somebody until they can point you in the right direction.
Yep.
And in the meantime, that is a worthwhile resource.
Yeah, Jared and Trish Carter, blessthisbrain.com.
Yeah.
In fact, Jared and I exchanged phone numbers. We're going to grab coffee, and they may come lead a workshop with some of our small group leaders or some of our leadership at our church here in the next 6 months or so.
Well, and I'm visioning with them over how to help keep expanding what they're doing so that they can have satellite branches in other places, because there's not a lot of folks doing what they're doing.
No.
And every community on the planet could use it.
Yep, it needs it. So, well, this has been super helpful. I hope that this has been encouraging to you. Again, whether you are someone who struggles with depression, you can overcome it. Never lose hope. Jesus walks with us through the ups and downs of life, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. He's able to pull us out of pits and to help us walk in high places.
Yes.
And so I'm grateful for God's healing and help for you individually, just as a friend. But I'm grateful for you sharing your time, your resource, energy to help our folks. Maybe the other thing to just highlight is Dave runs J17 Ministries, J17Ministries.org, if I remember right, that you could check out. And I mentioned this last night. God's used Dave and a host of others, but Dave in particular in my life, and to be a part of unifying the church, not just individual church, but the church across Tucson. So hence your shirt in Tucson as it is in heaven.
There it is.
I have that shirt. And we want to see the church shine. There's 1 million plus people in our city and surrounding area that aren't connected into any family of faith. And we want to reach them with God's hope and grace. And we want the church to shine brightly in our city. And you've been a champion of that for a long time now. And so J17 does that. You can join a mail, email service from J17 if you want. You can check out J17Ministries.org to find out more information about that. You're also doing a both and little YouTube, which is helping us as followers of Jesus to live in the tension that we find ourselves in a divisive time. Dave's an author, has written some great books, especially I thought the one on I forget the title, but on the politicalization, polarization.
Polarization,
It's
called Peace Talks, and the subtitle is The Good News of Jesus in a Donkey Elephant War.
Yes, brilliant, really well written, and I'm grateful for that as we try to navigate the season that we're in. So if you have questions about this or anything, we'll link to some of this stuff in there, but the books, resources, websites, you could check out. Hey, would you mind just praying over our folks as we close out today?
I would love to.
Just for anyone watching on this, we'd love to just pray. As one who's in recovery and healing and how God's help with that, would you just pray a blessing over our folks today?
I'd love to do that. Yeah. Jesus, as Jack was talking and as we were wrapping this up, the verse that kept coming into my mind was from the beginning of John. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.
Amen.
Jesus, the worst day in all of history, deepest, darkest, worst day, betrayal, death, dashed hopes, everything, had to be the day that we now call Good Friday, because you experienced the darkness so that you could bring the light to shine in the worst of it. So we praise you, God. We thank you for that. And I pray that truth for anyone who's watching this right now, that there is no darkness so dark that the light can't break into it. There is no darkness so great that it can overwhelm the light. You are the light of the world in every situation. And so, Lord, for those who have been in the middle of it themselves, instill hope right now that whatever is coming to mind right now as a next step, that it's worth it to take that step. And for those who love someone who is struggling in this area, never give up hope. You can be that source of light and hope, and it doesn't matter if it is a candle flicker. That can go a long way in a dark room, and be that hope for that person. And if you need help with yours, then get somebody to be that for you, because the darkness cannot extinguish the light of the world, Jesus. So thank you, God, for overwhelming the darkness, and we trust that you will do that for every person who's watching this right now. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. May it be so. Thank you, friend.
You are welcome.
See y'all next week.